I went to see Masters of the Universe and it was everything. It was so everything. I love this movie and I loved it from start to finish. See, I was born in 1983 and He-Man came out in the 80s. So I'm a He-Man fan from way back. And this movie made me feel like a kid again. And I was that kid that used to piss my daddy off. Okay? Because my love for swords started with He-Man. And I used to get my dad to buy me toy swords. And he used to get so frustrated buying me toy swords. So frustrated that he taught me how to make swords out of wire hangers, which transferred the frustration to my mom and my grandmother because now I'm pissing them off because I'm using they good hangers to make swords. Because once I turn this wire hanger into a sword, it can never be a hanger again. Who's gonna put in the work to try to turn this back into a hanger? And I was that kid in my grandmother's backyard, front yard, running around with a wire hanger sword in my back. And I was loving it. This movie was so epic to me. To the critics, not so much. IMDb gave it a 7.1 out of 10. Rotten Tomatoes gave it a 68%. But regular people like myself, popcorn meter gave it 87%. Word on the street is Amazon is pleased with the movie, even though it didn't do as well at the box office as they would have liked. They're still feeling it. So I believe there will be a sequel. The cast of the movie was great to me. There wasn't a lot of notable actors, but I don't think that's a bad thing. One of the things I truly love about Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon, is that a lot of the actors in those shows are actors we don't know. Like, of course, there was some we do know. You know, Sean Bean, Heather Headley, Peter Dinklage. We know them, but there were a lot of actors we didn't know. No, when we watch Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon, that's when we're first introduced to them. And they were great in those shows, and I think it works in this movie as well. Now, there were some notables in key roles. You have Morena Baccarin. I hope I'm saying her last name right. She's the Sorceress of Grayskull in this movie, and of course, she is the girlfriend in the Deadpool movies, of course. Then we have Jared Leto, who's playing Skeletor, and of course, you know, he played Joker in the Suicide Squad movie, and he plays Michael Morbius in the Morbius movie. And of course, the most notable actor in the entire movie is Idris Elba, who's playing the character of Man at Arms. And I want to give a shout out to people for a second. I realized that we as a people, we're not as far gone as I thought we were. Because when this movie, the first trailer dropped, I was expecting people to lose their shit because Man at Arms, a traditionally Caucasian character in all iterations of He-Man, is being portrayed by a black man. I was expecting those Ariel Little Mermaid trolls to come out and just have a whole fit. And I'm sure there are some out there who did, but it did not get the huge media uproar that I was expecting. So shout out to people for being a little tolerant about fictional characters that don't exist and realizing that anybody can play them and it can still be great. I was proud of that. Shout out to Nicholas Galitzine. He plays Prince Adam. I'm sorry for butchering this man's name because I'm sure I'm saying it wrong. But he plays Prince Adam and He-Man. And I'm going to tell you, he did a great job. He did a really great job as Prince Adam. Great job as He-Man. And you know, when we get that first trailer, people were very critical about the lack of bulkiness on him, that he wasn't real muscular bound like He-Man in the original cartoon and in other iterations of it. But I think it worked. I think he bodied the role of He-Man, even though he wasn't as muscular as the original cartoons were. We got to remember those are cartoons. This is a movie. We got to make it somewhat practical. He played a very kind of dopey, unserious Adam, which is what we get in the original cartoon. And then when he transitions to He-Man, he's this guy who's surprised at the abilities he has and the things he can do, but he transitions as the movie goes on into a man who understands the power he holds and he's wielding it efficiently. And I love that. Also, Jared Leto was great as Skeletor. Now, when they announced that Jared Leto was going to play Skeletor, everybody pulled out they "We Hate Jared Leto" bags and they went in. Now, I understand that a little bit because in the past, Jared Leto has not been that great in a number of roles. He was a terrible Joker, terrible Michael Morbius. I get it. But Skeletor was his best role yet, to me. And I'm proud of him for playing it the way he played it. He didn't try to play it like Frank Langella in the 87 movie, because the 87 Masters of the Universe, Frank Langella killed the role of Skeletor. He was a great Skeletor in a bad He-Man movie. He was awesome. But Jared Leto didn't try to go that route. He was more of the campy but very evil Skeletor we had in the original movie, still cracking some jokes, but he was still evil. And I think Jared Leto did a great job. One of my biggest criticisms of the 87 movie is the egregious amount of time that is spent on Earth. I hated that. I really, really hated that we got like 10 minutes of Eternia in the beginning and then about 15 to 20 minutes of Eternia at the end. And then the whole bulk of the movie was spent on Earth. I hated that in the original movie. But in this movie also spends time on Earth. And the reason they go to Earth is similar to the 87 movie. Very similar. Skeletor's on the attack. Skeletor's winning. We need to get out of here. And so in this one, Prince Adam and the Sword of Power are sent to Earth to get away from Skeletor. And in the 87 movie, He-Man, Man-at-Arms, and the Clique escaped Eternia to get away from Skeletor. But in this one, Prince Adam, he grows up, he spends like 15 years on Earth. He never forgets Eternia. He never forgets the sword. And he's actively looking for the sword all of his life and actively trying to get back to Eternia. And I love the fact that we got Eternia at the beginning. We spent a little time on Earth, but then the vast majority of the movie was on Eternia. I love that. I love that. And while we're talking about Eternia, I want to say the visuals in this movie were so on point. The visuals of Eternia were great. And I'm going to say it. It was giving a little Thor Ragnarok. It was giving. But if you're going to use a Marvel movie as an inspiration for your visuals, Thor Ragnarok is the one to go with. Without question. It's one of the best Marvel movies they ever did. And in every iteration of He-Man, Eternia is like this really beautiful place. It's full of magic and advanced technology and these talking creatures and these amazing geographical landscapes. It's really beautiful. It is fantasy personified, in my opinion. And I've always saw Eternia as a place where you could substitute or add or swap things from other acts of fiction and it would still work. It would still flow. Like if you took Hobbiton from Lord of the Rings and threw the hobbits into Eternia and gave them their own little community on the planet, it would work. It would work. If you took Mount Doom out of Lord of the Rings and put Snake Mountain in its place, I think it'd still work. Edoras from Lord of the Rings could easily be Eternos. Or if you wanted to use the city of Lothlorien or Rivendell as Eternos, still works. You could take some of those creatures from Labyrinth, put them in Eternia, and it works. The bog of eternal stench sounds like something straight out of Eternia. Okay. And I think that just goes to show that how the visuals of the landscapes and the people in this movie in Eternia, it worked. Even a burnt out Eternals after 15 years of Skeletor rule, the visual of that was great. Like when Prince Adam makes it back to Eternia and he sees Eternals for the first time, the emotion he goes through, because this is a city he was born in, this is a city he played in as a child, and it's gone. That city is it's a husk of what it once was, and he's emotionally spent about it. But the visuals is great. Another thing that I truly loved about this movie that was different from the 87 version is it didn't take itself too serious, just like the original cartoon. The stakes are high, but the funny is present. And like I said, that comes from the original cartoon. The stakes were always high in the original show, but they still had these funny moments. Skeletor was a funny bad guy back then. He would ridicule and admonish his minions, and he would do it in a way that I thought was hilarious, where he would insult them and he'd give a little string of insults, but every word in the insult started with the same letter. So he would say stuff like, "You brainless, bumbling band of buffoons." And it was hilarious. And of course, on the other side, you had Orko, who was also the comic relief. You had Prince Adam, who was this kind of unserious character because he was trying to not let anybody know he was He-Man. So I love that. And one of the differences from this movie to the 87 movie is you didn't have that comic relief in the 87 movie. The 87 movie was serious business from start to finish. There was no comedy. There was no funny. I mean, they tried to throw Gwildor in there to try to, take that Orko role and be a little funny, but it didn't land. It just didn't land. Frank Langella Skeletor, he wasn't cracking jokes. He was, "I want the sword. I want Eternia. It's mine. I want it. Get it. All gas, no brakes." So we didn't get that. And of course, in the 87 movie, you didn't have Orko. So you don't have that comic relief on the other side. You know what I'm saying? But like I said, Wildor did not stick the landing. But in this movie, they had those funny moments. Skeletor has this moment where he's the crescendo, because he's made this little monologue, but the bad guys around him, they didn't catch it, and he was like, "That's the crescendo." And they were like, oh, everybody like, "Oh, okay, I got it." And so that was funny. There's also a moment at the very end when He-Man and Skeletor are finna have their final big fight, and He-Man is like, "Saber, we don't have to fight. We can work this out. We can talk. We don't have to fight." He's using his HR, human resources shit from when he was on Earth working in human resources. And Skeletor's like, "Bruh, you know who I am? I'm Skeletor. There ain't no good part in me that you gonna turn and make me see the error of my ways. No, I'm evil. Run it. Let's go." And He-Man takes the sword of power and he just drives it into the ground, and he starts to literally beat on Skeletor in his hands. I'm talking body shot, body shot, body shot, shot to the jaw, kick in the chest. He's whooping Skeletor's butt. And in the middle of it all, Skeletor is down on the ground, like, "Say, wait a minute, hold on. You know what? I think we can talk about this. I think we can work this out." And so it had its funny moments. It didn't take itself seriously, and I love that. Another thing I really liked about this movie is the fight choreography. I think one of the best fight scenes in the movie was close to the beginning when we see Idris Elba fight some of Skeletor's henchmen. And he really just shines in that fight choreography. And then right after he fights them, he faces off against Trapjaw, and he's giving Trapjaw everything Trapjaw can handle. And of course, in the end, Trapjaw gets the best of him. And I think Trapjaw getting the best of him, what happens to Eterus, the king and the queen being taken, and of course, Prince Adam, everybody thinks he's dead. it does something to Man at Arms because he thinks he's the guy. He's the one who keeps everybody in the city safe. And when he failed, it took him down a bad road. He becomes a drunk and all the other things. But his fight choreography in the beginning of the movie was great. I thought He-Man's fight choreography was good when he transforms and he has his first fight against Trapjaw and some henchmen. And then when he goes to Snake Mountain, that whole fight scene, like he fights like I felt like it was like 10 or 15 guys in He-Man. And they were really letting He-Man be He-Man. You're the most powerful man in the universe, as the old cartoon says. And he was showing it in that moment. Really great stuff. And even some of the side characters, their fight choreographies were on point. Ram Man, Fisto, Mechaneck. And there was a woman named Deanna who's not in the original cartoon, but she was still getting it in the final fight of the movie. It was really great. I really, really enjoyed that. Now, let me tell you, I gave this movie an 8 out of 10. I took away points for a few reasons. One reason, I wanted more Orko. Now, they gave us an Orko scene at the very end of the movie, like that kind of, in the old cartoon, they used to give us a little life lesson. And so Orko shows up at the final scene toward the end of the movie to give us that little life lesson moment. I thought that was cool. But I feel like they could have gave us Orko at the very beginning before things went left. Because I get it. Like, this is 15 years under Skeletor's thumb. Ain't nothing funny. And Orko is a comic relief character, so there's not really a lot of room given this rebellion state of life we're in. Ain't nothing funny, so I can understand why you don't need that comic relief character. But if you could have gave it to us at the beginning, before things went left, and then brought him back for that scene at the end, no problem. I wanted more Cringer, aka Battle Cat. I really did. They give us a young Cringer with young Prince Adam at the beginning, and then as we get to the final act, adult Cringer is revealed in the prison cell with everybody else. And I really wanted that transformation. I wanted to see him transform into Battle Cat. Now, we do get to see him as Battle Cat with all the armor on at the end, but we don't see the transformation. So I really would have liked to see that. And in the final fight, it's a 3-on-3. You got He-Man, Teela, Cringer going against Beastman, Evelyn, and Skeletor inside of Castle Grayskull. And I felt like they would have done a better service to the movie if you have Cringer facing off against his evil counterpart, Panther, who is the pet/mount of Skeletor. I would have rather seen Cringer face off against Panther than Cringer fighting Beastman. I would have rather had that. That's just me, though. Also, I think the secret that Adam is He-Man, I think they should have kept that. I think it should have been kept. Like, they didn't even attempt to keep that secret in this movie. Like, in every other iteration of He-Man, Master of the Universe, it's a secret. In the original cartoon, it's a secret. In the 2002 animated cartoon, it's a secret. We don't talk about the New Adventures of He-Man because that was complete garbage. Up until the Kevin Smith He-Man on Netflix, it was always a secret. And of course, in the Kevin Smith version on Netflix, we find everybody in time finds out that Prince Adam is He-Man. And it works because that was a continuation of the original show. So it's been years before anybody finds out that Prince Adam is He-Man. And I think that secrecy of not knowing who He-Man is one of those things that makes He-Man work. It's one of those things that makes his character so compelling because we don't know who he is. We just know that when Eternia is in trouble, this guy and his armored green cat show up and we're good. You know what I'm saying? So I really feel, and then in this movie, it's like everybody knows. Like they're there. When he comes back, when Prince Adam returns with the sword of power, they see he has the sword. He makes the plan inside the prison cell. When he transforms again, everybody knows he's He-Man. And I give him props because Prince Adam's character, he tries to like establish like it's a secret at the end of the movie. Like, oh, we got to go. Come on, Cringer, we got to go do that thing. And as he's running off, the heroes, Fisto, and then they're standing there like, doesn't he know that we were all there? Like, we ain't forgot. We seen what we seen. And they was like, you know what? Let him have it. Let him believe that we don't know. And let's just run with it. But ultimately, this was a really, really great movie to me. And I love it. And I love the fact that Amazon is behind it, even though it's not doing as well in the box office as they would like it. And of course, we get that extra scene at the very end where we see Adora, who is Prince Adam's twin sister. We see her version of the sword of power. So that means She-Ra is a thing. And I'm looking forward to a sequel because I really do believe they're going to give us a sequel because of how Amazon feels about it. And I'm hoping that this He-Man and the Masters of the Universe can be established as its own film universe. Because, we have Marvel, we got DC and Harry Potter, Star Trek, Star Wars, and the list goes on and on of these universes that are out there in film and TV. So if we can get a He-Man going and his own universe, because it's such a large universe, because it's so much bigger than He-Man and Skeletor. You got She-Ra, you got Hordak, you got all these other really interesting characters. You got, a number of good guys from the original cartoon that we didn't see in this movie, and some bad guys we didn't see in this movie. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm hoping that they get the sequel. I'm hoping it's great and they just continue to expand on it and make it big, make it large, and gives us another universe out there, something to look forward to besides Marvel and DC, Star Wars, Star Trek, and all of those. So if you have not went to see Masters of the Universe 2026 version, you need to go see it. I'm going to go see it again on my next off day, I promise. Either Monday or Tuesday. I'm off both days. I'm going to go see it again with another large popcorn and another large root beer with no ice. That's just how I'm going to do it. And if you haven't seen it, take some time off. Go see this movie. Because like Prince Adam, like He-Man, you have the power. Today in things worldly, but not nerdy. In case you didn't know, there was a primary race for mayor of the city of Los Angeles June 2nd. 16 candidates, but it was truly a three-person race. Incumbent Democrat Karen Bass, reality TV star Republican Spencer Pratt, and city councilwoman Democrat Nithya Raman. And this is a primary, so the rules are a little bit different. 50% of the vote, you win the whole thing. There's no need for a general election in November. You're going to be the new mayor. But if nobody gets to 50%, the top two candidates run off in the general election in November. Now, I told y'all last week, politics is messier than ever. And I've enjoyed politics since I was a kid. I remember watching Clinton, Daddy Bush, and Ross Perot debate in 1992. I was only 9 years old, but I remember watching it with my mom. And in my 43 years on this earth, this is the first time I've seen elections for city mayor get so much national attention. I'm talking about Mamdani in New York and now this election in Los Angeles. Now, let me make it plain. It is very difficult due to voter makeup for a Republican to win mayor in the city of Los Angeles. It's very difficult, almost impossible. Okay? Republicans account for 19% of registered voters in the city of Los Angeles. I'm going to say that one more time. Republicans account for 19% of registered voters in the city of Los Angeles. And let me make it plain, I'm rounding up to 19, all right? So by those numbers alone, it's an uphill battle for Spencer Pratt to win. Donald Trump himself, as popular as he is, only got 26% of the vote in the general election of 2024 for the city of Los Angeles. So what really makes them think that this guy, who's a reality TV star and very, very unpopular, going to beat Mayor Bass? It's almost impossible. And he lost. He got third place. This is not a surprise to anybody with a thinking brain. And it's not a surprise to any Republican out there, no matter what they tell you on Fox News and any other news station that will let them talk. They're not surprised this guy won. Come on. I mean, they're not surprised this guy lost. Let's be honest. Okay? My stepdad used to tell us all the time, a pair of lips will say anything. Okay? People lie. Numbers don't. Again, 19% registered Republicans in Los Angeles. There was literally no way this guy was going to beat not only Mayor Bass, but another popular Democrat too. Not a freaking chance. But him losing is not a surprise. What's really the conversation coming out of this election? It's the aftermath. It's what came after his loss. Because when a MAGA Republican loses, the Republican Party goes into their narrative bag. And what do they pull out the narrative bag? The election was rigged. Democrats are cheating. What? In the bluest city in the country, Democrats cheated to win? They didn't have to. Because that doesn't make sense. There is no room for accountability when a MAGA Republican loses. None. Not that we ran a trash candidate that was unpopular, had no platform, and no political experience. That couldn't be it. It had to be that the Democrats are cheating. And then they roll out the same old explanations. Voter fraud, mail-in ballots are corrupt. They keep saying all these things and they have no evidence. None. And anytime they take these claims of voter fraud and corruption and mail-in ballots to court, it gets thrown out. The judges are throwing it out. And Republican voters will say, oh, well, those are liberal judges. No, sweetheart. A lot of those judges that are dismissing those cases, they're conservative justices. And a lot of them appointed by Donald Trump himself. There is no evidence to support this voter fraud mail-in ballot thing they keep talking about. The majority of California uses mail-in ballots. And there's a process in place that makes sure there is no fraud. Okay? The higher ups of the Republican Party will tell you, there's so much corruption in the mail-in ballots. Okay? Because they don't expect you as a regular person to use critical thinking. And let's be honest, most of the critical thinking is not on the right side of the aisle. Go put it out there. Okay, I'll say it. They don't expect it. They don't want you to look into the fact that every state has laws and rules that make sure voter fraud is not a thing. They'll tell you we should be able to have an election and the polls close at 7 and about 10 or 11 p.m. we should know who won. That is not realistic. No state has that. Every state, they have a certain date. They have to have all the votes counted and certified. Okay? So when an election is called and say, oh, this person won this state or this person won this seat, that's just the news, CNN, Fox, whoever. That's just them predicting. And in all truth and honesty, they could end up being wrong as hell. But nobody points that out. Again, no evidence. Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, he keeps saying, oh, California, there's a problem with their voting system, there's a problem with this, and I think everybody knows it. And when they asked him, okay, do you have any evidence, Mr. Speaker? His response, and I'm paraphrasing here, well, the corruption is so deep. It's so deep that we'll probably never know what's going on. That's a real nice way of saying that you're talking out of your butt crack and you don't have any facts to back up the claim you're claiming. That's what that is. Now, here's a truly interesting point about mail-in voting. Donald Trump will stand up behind any podium and preach to the high heavens that mail-in ballots are full of fraud and mail-in voting is wrong, this, that, third, and the third. But guess what? Over the last 5-6 years, the majority of the time that he votes, he's mailed in his ballot. So it's good for him, terrible for everybody else. And I'm just wondering, I just want to know, as a party, as the Republican Party, Republican voters, if you're listening to me right now, I have a question. How much longer are you going to accept this? How much longer are you going to accept these narratives that they spin every time they don't get their way? Every lost election is rigged. Every embarrassing fact is fake news. Every scientific truth is a hoax. Every protest against them is paid. Imagine being so fragile that you have to create a whole fake reality just to cope with normal existence. Now, they like to say the Democrats have rigged the system. They've rigged the system so good, according to Mike Johnson, that we may never know how deep it is. And I have to ask a question. So you want us to believe that Democrats have rigged the system so well that you'll never be able to figure out how deep it goes, and they used it to win the seat of mayor in the bluest city in America that they probably didn't really need to rig it for? Like, they legitimately forgot to use that rigged ability and powers for the 2024 election? So now they don't have any real say in the House, the Senate, or the White House? Make that make sense. Just make it make sense. That's all I'm trying to say. There's a young man. I'm being nice when I say young man too. But there's a man known as Rafael Cruz, Ted Cruz, Cancun Cruz. He's a senator for Texas. And we have a Democratic candidate running for Senate named James Tallarico in Texas. And of course, the Republican machine is out in full force to keep him from getting elected in Texas. And I think he got a real shot. I like the guy personally. But this ain't about Tallarico. This is about Ted Rafael Cancun Cruz. He goes on Fox News the other night, and I'm going to read this verbatim. I'm not going to paraphrase like I did a second ago. I'm going to read exactly what he said. And he's talking about Tallarico. He says, if you were making a list of 1,000 adjectives to describe this guy, masculine would not be one of them. I mean, if a stiff breeze came by, it would blow him over like a feather. Ted, please shut up. Please, for the love of God, shut up. Okay? Because How dare you talk about anybody in a breeze? When we all know when the temperature dips below 30, you're headed to the nearest tropical climate. You out of Texas with the quick. As soon as that thing say 29 degrees, you're on a plane to Cancun or California or some other place where the sun is shining. Okay? And I know I didn't hear you say Tallarico's not masculine. Masculine? You're going to question somebody else's masculinity? The same man who bends the knee and kisses the ring of the man who insulted his daddy and his wife on national television. You can't be serious. Okay? Called your wife ugly on national television for the world to see. I'm going to go and tell you right now. I lost my dad in 2024, and I'm not married. But, and I mean this when I say this, if I'm having a political debate and you want to come at me, go right ahead. Go right ahead. But the moment you decide to insult my wife on TV, the woman who I stood in front of God and professed my love and said that I will honor, cherish, provide, and protect, key word in this sentence, protect, the gloves are off now. Fuck this debate. Okay? They'd have moved on with the debate. I'd have been over there unbuttoning my jacket. Take this off. Roll these sleeves down. Mr. Cicero, what are you doing? Nothing. And I would have dived on Donald Trump. Why? Because you're not going to insult my wife on national television. I'm not having it. So, Ted Cruz, before you try to talk about anybody's masculinity, check yourself. Okay? Please, for the love of God, check yourself. Now, before we get out of here, I'm going to do a new thing, and I'm going to call this pulling a thread. And this is where I'm going to go on the Threads app because I have so much of a good time on the Threads app. And I'm going to see some random questions, and I'm going to rapid fire answer those questions. I'm not going to dig into it too deep. I'm just going to answer some questions, and we're going to move forward with life, all right? First one. What does it mean when he introduces his new girlfriend to all your hobbies and interests? Now, for anybody who don't understand this question, it means this man got a new girlfriend and he introduces his new girlfriend to all of his ex-girlfriend's hobbies and interests. I'll tell you what that means. He's still in love with that girl. And he wants you to be more like her. Leave his ass, baby. All right? Next. Favorite horror movie quote. I got 3 of them. Beat Richie. Stephen King's It. They're here. Poltergeist. 1, 2, Freddy's coming for you. That's Nightmare on Elm Street. And I'm going to give you another one. Kind of funny. More recent. Here we go. So, what we supposed to be doing? Being kind to one another. That's from Sinners. Next thing. What does it mean? Oh, sorry, wrong one. Do you still have pictures or videos of you and your ex? Or do you delete everything? I deleted all that shit. Scrubbed from existence. Scrubbed from my phone, scrubbed from my social media, pictures, videos, whatever. Now, I will say I probably have a couple of TikToks with my last relationship because those videos did really well and I'm not taking them down. I'm not killing my views. I don't care what happens. My supervisor told me he spends more on daycare for his 3 kids than his entire mortgage. I believe it. I believe it. Let me tell y'all something. I am helping to raise my oldest grandson. He's going to be 3 next month. He's in daycare. And that daycare is $250 a week. $250 a week. And they want their money every Friday, and they better have it before Tuesday morning, because if you pull up on Tuesday morning and you're still old from last week, little Jimmy can't come in. It's gonna be take Jimmy to work with you day. That's what it's gonna be, because he can't come in here. And here's the cold part. The coldest part is if the daycare is closed, like it is the next 2 days, Thursday and Friday. Guess what? You ain't getting no discount. They still want the whole $250. They ain't, it's $50 a day in my mind. So you think if they will be closed 2 days, they take off $100? Nope, they still want the whole $250, and they ain't playing. So I get that. And he got 3 of them. All right, last thing, and then we getting out of here. The last thing that bitch you gave you superpowers, what did you get? I got boundless energy to run around and hop around in a circle for whatever reason. I lost a lot of my speech abilities, so it's very hard for me to express myself. I do know how to tell you I want to eat. I can point at the things I want to eat. I can tell you I peed, but I cannot tell you I peed before, so you can put me on the toilet. And if you put me on the toilet, I may not pee in the toilet, but once you put me in the tub to give me a bath, I'm going to definitely pee in the water. I got bit by my grandson. He's 2. That's my time, y'all. I'm out. Lord Cicero the Great. This is the Southeast Kingdom. If you want to reach me, you can find me on TikTok at Lord Cicero the Great, Instagram at Lord Cicero the Great. You can even find me on Facebook at what? Lord Cicero the Great. That's my time, y'all. I'm out of here. See y'all next week.